Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing a altered journal cover. Right here I'm adding gesso because at this point I thought I was going to need it. And it turns out in the end I actually did end up needing it, so I put a light cover of gesso on the front and side of my journal. And here I'm showing the inside of the journal. It's a craft journal. I actually had burlap on the cover, and I took it off because I wanted to decorate it how I wanted it, and I did not want to use the burlap. And so I dried the gesso, and here I'm adding puzzle pieces, which later on I end up taking them off, but leaving like the bottom layer of the puzzle so that it's not so thick. And so I'm just arranging the puzzle pieces the way I want them to get them glued on there. I use tacky glue that I picked up from the Dollar Tree to adhere the puzzle pieces to the front of the journal. And I'm just sticking them randomly. I have no rhyme or reason for where I'm sticking them. I'm just putting them on there. And then I take and cover the puzzle pieces with gesso. I take my Tim Holtz Harlequin stencil and some Prima molding paste and just put it around the area around the puzzle pieces to where I want it. And so I'm just adding layers of molding paste around in different areas. And then once I'm done with that, I just take some molding paste and just spread it around in different spaces on the journal that wasn't covered very well. Then I take my heat tool and dry the molding paste. And if you notice, my drying tool, my heat tool has been through it. It actually melted. And so off camera, I did my composition and I'm showing you that I took the puzzle pieces off and that everything's good now. I'm liking the way things are. And so I start taking things off to start gluing it onto the cover. I'm using tacky glue as well as heavy gel medium for the metal pieces. Little Birdie Crafts heavy gel medium for all of the metal pieces you see right there. I just used random metal pieces that I had, and I think they're either Tim Holtz or Finnabair flowers, and then just some leaf charms and just random metal pieces that I had around. So I'm just putting the heavy gel medium on those and on my picture frame. And I like the heavy gel medium because You see right here, it wasn't exactly positioned right, and the glue gave me time to move everything where I wanted it before it actually stuck down. And so I'm just gluing everything down, and then I took gesso and covered all of my pieces. And that's what I'm showing you now, is that I covered everything with gesso, and I added the heart and the word black later on. I was out of regular black paint, so I used the next best thing, which was pavement. And I would usually use black gesso for this, but I did not have any, so I used what I had on hand, which was the cheap Walmart paint. And so here I am, just, adding a layer of the pavement paint all around. And then here I'm grabbing a smaller paintbrush to, do the details of everything. There's some small parts that I couldn't get to with the big brush. So I'm just taking a smaller brush, going through and getting all of the nooks and crannies, making sure everything is covered with the black paint, so that when I go over it with the wax and the Lindy's, it'll be completely covered and there won't be any white showing through. And so I'm just continuing to add the paint until everything is absolutely covered. As you can see here, there are a lot of small nooks and crannies to really get in there. So it takes a lot of time and a lot of patience, but you just got to get in there and get them all. This is the first time I've ever actually painted after I've glued everything. Usually I will paint everything and then glue it, for the simple fact that I don't like having to dig around and paint in all the nooks and crannies and make sure everything's covered. If I paint it beforehand, I know it's covered. So this is the first time I've ever actually done it this way. So once I get the paint on there, I take my heat tool and I make sure everything is fully dried before I start with the wax or the paint. So now my piece is fully dry, and I started with my Finnabair waxes. Here I'm using Peacock. I dropped my top. I seem to have butterfingers with this project because I've been dropping everything. So I'm using Peacock to start out with, and I'm just going to cover a few different things. I start by using my finger, and then later on I go and use a paintbrush to apply it, because I couldn't get into some of the areas, so it was easier to use a paintbrush than my finger. So I'm just applying the Peacock wax to different areas of my journal cover to give it some highlight. Here I'm using the paintbrush, just going over different areas, giving that shine, that highlight. I really love the Finnabair waxes. This is only a couple of times I've ever used it. The waxes are really awesome. I really love the way that they just highlight things and how you can use just a very small amount and it covers so much. And all the colors work wonderfully together. You can blend and mix all of the colors together to make different colors. And it's absolutely beautiful. So I'm highlighting my frame here with the paintbrush. And then later on, I had a brilliant idea that I wanted to make this look old and rusty. So I took some Finnabair Prima sand texture base and I placed it all around my notebook and on my embellishment pieces. And then I'm going to take some Lindy's Magical Dark Chocolate Truffle, and I'm going to mix it with some water and just take and brush the Magicals along my project in different areas, mostly around where I put the texture paste to make it look like it's rusted. I also added the Tiffanylou blue Magicals the same way. Just went over my project with it. And I dried the Magicals in between layers to give it more depth. So I did the Tiffanylou blue the same way. I just put a little water in the Magicals and just placed it around my notebook and my embellishments where I put the texture paste, and just highlighting certain areas to give it a little bit of shine, make it look a little old and dingy. And so here you can see that I'm finished with the Magicals and I'm starting to add some more Finnabair wax. This time I chose to use Finnabair Patina blue and Patina green matte wax to give it a little more antique look, more old and rusted. So I'm just dabbing it around in different areas, just giving it a little bit of a patina look on certain areas on the notebook. I'm especially adding it around the sections where I put the texture paste. So I just kept adding the waxes until I got it where I wanted it. I added some copper and the matte waxes, and this is the end result. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you did, please click subscribe. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Y'all have a wonderful day. Bye, y'all.